My ex-husband used my social media to announce his wedding to my best friend without asking me. And if you're already grabbing your temples because that sentence feels like 5 different betrayals braided into a single rope burn, welcome to the week my phone became a ghost that wouldn't stop knocking. I'm Nora, the woman who keeps her passwords in a notebook shaped like a lemon because my therapist says humor is a hinge, the kind of person who alphabetizes her spices and thought adulthood meant the universe would finally stop inventing electives. You're going to hear it the way it unspooled, pings, screenshots, the old ache of laughing in the wrong places, and the stupidly human part of me that still wanted someone to say, "You're not crazy, that actually happened." The first vibration hit at 6:42 a.m., when the world is still soft and the air in my apartment smells like yesterday's coffee making up its mind. I didn't look. I roll my mornings like dough, quiet, gentle, no surprises. But then a second ping happened, and then a third, and by the time I found my glasses the sound was a hive. Buzz buzz buzz, like the internet had elected me its queen without warning or a vote. I flipped my phone. 6 to 2 notifications. Comments. DMs. A private message from my aunt who spells honey like a diagnosis. My Instagram had posted a carousel of photos I had never seen before. My ex-husband Lucas in a suit the color of a lullaby and my best friend Talia, wearing a white dress that looked like good taste had borrowed it for the weekend. Slide 1, them under a sycamore, her mouth open in that laugh you only do when you think everyone clapping is clapping for the right reasons. Slide 2, hands with rings, the caption when you know you know. Slide 3, a shot of me, yes me, clinking glasses with them at some long-ago dinner tagged, so the algorithm would make sure I didn't miss the party I wasn't invited to. The caption, written from my account, read, "Couldn't be happier for these two soulmates. Love wins. #blessed #family forever." Do you know that sensation when your bloodstream gets replaced with cold seltzer? Like your body fizzes and your bones ask for a manager? That. I stared so hard my eyelids forgot to blink. 10 months since the divorce decree, 14 since the separation, 5 since Talia stopped returning calls because everything is too much right now, babe. I changed my locks. I kept the couch. I watched movies where people break their own hearts gently. I thought I was building the version of me that keeps secrets like sourdough starter, alive, fed, private. And now here was my old life holding a megaphone I paid for. I didn't even have to guess how he got in. Lucas and I had shared a Dropbox and an Apple ID because cohesion, and I did the thing where you think you changed all your passwords but you didn't because grief makes you sloppy around doors. He'd kept my login like a souvenir. Or maybe I'd left it on the nightstand of a past version of us and he stepped over the caution tape later and pocketed it. He never loved boundaries unless they protected his calendar. I tried to delete the post. It wouldn't go. The delete button spun, thought about empathy, then shrugged. Lucas had changed my password back. There's a sentence you don't expect to say after a divorce, so I was locked out of my own throat. People were liking the announcement like it was a baby. Comments scrolled under my face with little hearts. So mature. Love this. What a queen. Proof that you can stay friends with your exes if you heal right. You're an inspiration, Nora. I wanted to stand on a chair and tell the internet that inspiration is often just exhaustion in good lighting. I called Lucas. He answered like we chat. "Hey," he said, cheerful, coffee bright. "Do you believe in full circle moments?" "You posted your wedding announcement on my account," I said, because sometimes it's best to throw a fact like a life preserver and see who grabs it. He inhaled the indignant kind. "Our community is overlap," he said. "The Venn diagram, Nora. You know this. Did you honestly just say Venn diagram as a way to override consent?" I asked, my voice doing that actress thing where it stays calm while the monologue sharpens. "We didn't want to put you on the spot," he said, talking fast now. "So I took care of it. Talia was stressed about what to say to you and we decided this would be kinda." "You decided," I said. I could hear birds behind him. Or maybe a podcast about birds because Lucas loves to curate a soundscape in case life tries to be messy. "You decided to make me announce your engagement to my best friend for you." "Wife," he corrected softly. "It's done." "Wife." Talia, my Talia, the friend who held my hair back when I learned wine isn't a method of problem solving, who texted me food like a prayer when my mother got sick, who sat at my kitchen table 600 times eating pistachios and spitting the shells into a bowl like two widows in a Greek play, who, when I confessed that Lucas had been so attentive lately it scared me, said, "Sometimes the ones who learn late still learn." I felt the shape of her name behind my teeth like pepper. "Change my password back," I said. "Now." "You don't have to be like this," he said, and his voice did the thing where it reaches for a high road that does not exist. "Didn't we survive each other? Shouldn't that count for something?" "It does. It counts for me not showing up with a fork and the truth during your vows. It counts for me doing the kind of apology that looks like silence. It does not count for you using my keys because the new door thinks you're handsome." I hung up. He called back. I didn't answer. My phone went back to buzzing like it had been given a mission. My aunt texted again. "This is God's plan," she wrote, and then, because she's generous with punctuation. My coworker sent holy plot twist. "You okay?" and then a skull emoji because millennials have to pretend death is hilarious. My therapist, bless her, sent a heart and big breath. "Call if you want." I wanted. But I also wanted to sit in the marrow of this and see if it grew a sentence that could hold me. I put on shoes. I did not brush my hair. I walked to the bakery that knows how to look at a woman carrying something broken and say morning. The barista slid me a coffee I didn't order. "This is why you tip in cash, it buys you mercy later." On a corner table, a couple argued in low, well-behaved voices. I found a chair that didn't wobble. I opened notes. I wrote, "What am I owed and what do I owe?" and stopped pretending fairness is oxygen. Then I wrote their names in a column and tried to forgive them in bullet points, because sometimes you have to trick your brain into being holy. Then I texted Talia. Not a paragraph. Not a scream. Just, "Did you know he did that?" She replied within a minute. "I told him not to," she wrote. "He said it would be better." "How long?" I wrote, and the words tasted like blood, the kind you get when you bite the inside of your cheek, something you gave yourself and still want to blame on the room. "After you separated," she wrote. We. "I'm sorry. I tried to hold both of you and I dropped you first." "Why?" I asked, because why is a child with a balloon? Everyone tells her to let go and she won't. "Because he promised me a life," she wrote. "And you promised me the truth and I chose the one that scared me less." Sometimes I hate texts for making it easy to confess without breathing. Sometimes I love them because they timestamp the moment a person finally names it. I stared at her message until the screen dimmed. I wanted to write, "You were my life," but that felt like a lie I had told myself when I was lonely. Friendships are not spouses. They are not property. But they are architecture. And she had moved a load-bearing wall without asking. A table over, a woman laughed too loud. I watched her mouth. This is how you become a detective in the aftermath. You examine strangers for clues about whether the world still makes any sense. I tried to log in again. Locked. I tried the forgot password route. The recovery email had been changed to something like lucas.personal@, and I almost laughed because narcissism is lazy and unimaginative. So I emailed support. I took a photo of myself holding a spoon with my name written on paper because that's the kind of proof 2025 demands. I wrote a brief message that sounded sane because righteous fury on customer support tickets just gets you throttled by bots. Then I closed the app and promised myself I wouldn't open it for 3 hours. I lasted 40 minutes. Progress is just failure with a nap. 10 months earlier, the divorce had been clean in all the ways that matter to lawyers and messy in all the ways that matter to human beings who have favorite mugs. We didn't have children. We had 7 plants and a dog named Rufus who loved Lucas more. We split amicably in the way people say the earthquake was small when their glasses are fine but the house shifted 2 inches off its foundation. No cheating. No screaming. Just the realization that I had married a man who believed problems were challenges and I believed they were weather. He wanted to engineer us. I wanted to build a fort of blankets and wait out the storm. I say it like a joke so I don't have to say he stopped looking at me with curiosity, and I thought that meant I was uninteresting. Talia had been the translator. She liked to say she met me first because she knew me without him. She liked to take half credit for our early years, like the friend who introduces you to the restaurant you propose in and forever insists the burger was her idea. She did things with ease I admire without ever wanting to replicate. Talia, who can talk a meter made out of a ticket and also make the cashier cry with kindness. Talia, who stayed for the whole night when my mother was admitted and then slept in the chair because some rooms have clear assignments. Talia, who murmured it's change, it's not failure when I decided to leave academia, and she taught me to say it like vitamins, daily regardless of whether you feel anything. So yes, the betrayal had layers. Cake. Millfuel. But what cut wasn't the scandal? Plenty of people fall into each other's gravity when an orbit breaks. It was the performance of it. The co-opting. The way Lucas used my mouth to make a speech I did not write. At noon my phone finally dinged with the miracle subject line, account access restored. I clicked through the verification gauntlet like a mouse navigating a lab for cheese. I got in. I changed the password, numbers, symbols, something improbable. I opened the post and hit delete. It asked, "Are you sure?" the way a polite person would think stabbing isn't what it is. Yes, I was sure. It vanished. The comments, the hearts, the proof of my allegedly generous soul. Gone like a curtain lowered after a performance that never deserved a curtain call. Then I posted a story. White background. Black text. I didn't write that. Please don't congratulate me for being okay with something I am not okay with. I'm okay with my life. I'm not okay with stolen voices. It wasn't poetry. It didn't trend. It did what it had to. People I know slid back into my DMs with the slow, careful "oh." Some apologized for their hearts. A few defended the sentiment "love wins," which is one of those phrases that has no edges until it does. I turned those notifications off. A woman from high school wrote, "Thank you for saying the part out loud that most of us swallow." I hearted it and then stood in my kitchen and realized I was not shaking anymore. Lucas called again. I answered because sometimes being a grown-up is just taking calls you don't like. "You embarrassed us," he said, as if we were a single organism and image was our god. "You stole my keys," I said. "And my living room. And then you hung your photos on the walls and asked me to serve drinks." "You could have been gracious," he said, the way people pronounce gracious like a magic word that keeps their own shame away. "I was," I said. "I didn't write your names in the caption I posted about boundaries." Silence is never just silence. I could hear him inhale. I pictured him in the kitchen we picked out together. "It's probably still got my cinnamon in the wrong drawer." He said, "Talia's wrecked." "She should be," I said without caffeine in my voice. "I hope she survives it." "I hope I do too." "What do you want from me?" he asked, and I could tell by the tilt of the question that he already thought himself generous for asking. "Nothing," I said. "No. That's a lie. I want a tiny, specific apology. Not for falling in love with my best friend. For deciding my consent is optional if it makes your story prettier." "You and your words," he muttered, meaning it mean. He has always found my language both the charm and the flaw. A sword he wants to be a fork. "I come with them," I said. "They are the part of me that keeps me from doing what you did." He did not apologize. "That's not this kind of story." He said, "I won't log in again," and I said, "You can't," and he said, "Congrats on your independence," and I said, "Congrats on your marriage," because sometimes the high road exists, you just have to grit your teeth and put your feet on it. The next day, Talia came to my door without texting first. I almost didn't open it. I did because once upon a time she had a key, and I wanted to prove to myself I could let her knock like the rest of the world. She stood there small, which is not a scale she wears often. No makeup. Her hair in a knot that said not performance but panic. A brown paper bag in her hands like an offering that hungry gods used to demand. "I brought lemon bars," she said. "The good ones." The ones we said would only eat when an apology was bigger than words. You got married on a Thursday, I said, because facts sometimes help. I did, she said, and her eyes filled with the kind of water that makes you want to forgive people even if your smart parts scream. Congratulations, I said, because cruelty isn't a hobby that looks good later. Thank you, she said, and then because the universe is still capable of jokes, she added, he thought the hashtag would be #LucasAntalya ever after, and I said, I'll die first. I laughed. Because I'm a sucker. Because we used to laugh like that for free. Because even in the ash there was the bone of us. She looked at the lemon bars. Should I not have brought these, she asked, like we were in a training module for being decent after being awful. You should have brought them last month, I said. Then I opened the door wider. But now is not never. We sat at my table. The lemon bars were falsely cheerful. Powdered sugar everywhere like seasons that don't choose a surface. She told me about the ceremony, sycamore, her grandmother's bracelet, the way Lucas cried when her vows accidentally rhymed. I told her I didn't need to know those parts. She nodded. She told me they were going to see his parents the next day. She did not ask me about my mother's health, which is a grievance bigger than this essay has room for. We cut the lemon bars into pieces that should be illegal. Eating them felt like infidelity to my own anger, but grief like sugar, that's science. I won't ask you to be my friend, she said finally, because that is a sentence for children and we are not children. But I will tell you I'm going to miss your face in rooms it used to own. I'm going to miss the version of me you saw before you started seeing me through his, I said, sounding like a book I'd roll my eyes at on a good day. Maybe later. Maybe after we each have new rooms that don't smell like this. She nodded. She tore a napkin into little birds and set them on the plate like a ritual from a country we used to visit. She left without hugging me, which was the kindest thing she could do. Here's what I did next that I am proud of and a little embarrassed by: nothing public. I drafted a paragraph that glittered with the precise kind of pain that makes strangers clap. I didn't post it. I wrote a list called Small Borders and put things on it like turn off tagging and archive posts where my past looks like a threat and teach Rufus to come when I say my name, not his. Rufus still lives with Lucas. He is not a boomerang dog. I am not a saint. I changed passwords. I changed the router name from L&N home to my house. I made tea. I took the lemon bars to my neighbor who checks my mail when I'm out of town and said, "We are not celebrating, we are regulating blood sugar." She said, "Amen," because she's a nurse and a delight. Work helped. I am the person who writes grant applications for a nonprofit that teaches teenagers to build radios and then use them to broadcast stories about their block. My boss, Cam, handed me coffee and said, "Authenticate yourself," which is how she says good morning to people who look like the internet used their face for a pinata. The kids I work with found out earlier than I would have liked because their generation is surveillance with a smile. A girl named Maura, who speaks like a chainsaw and has a heart like a stadium, said, "Adults are messy, that's encouraging," and I laughed hard enough to make her beam. We edited an audio piece. We taught a boy from down the street to balance levels. I left with my hands smelling like solder and hope. At night in the quiet, I wondered what version of Lucas I had loved. People make that question a weapon too easily. I didn't want to. He is not evil. He is a man who thinks logistics is a synonym for love. He believes announcements are gentler than conversations. He thinks outcomes are apologies. He will be extremely good at being married to someone who enjoys depending on schedules. I say that not as shade. As weather. I am a woman who loves silence and slow mornings and people who ask my consent before using my name to make their story seem more palatable. I am a woman who keeps single-use passwords the way other women keep emergency cash. I am a woman who writes things down in lemon notebooks so when the story starts running away, I have a leash. Weeks passed. People stopped asking in the grocery line. The algorithm found fresh meat. A boy from high school announced triplets and the town went feral with baby emojis. My aunt moved on to sending me sunrise photos because she thinks God is best at yellow. My therapist pointed to the part of me that wants clean and told it to sit. I went back to the bakery. The barista slipped me a free thing I didn't want and I took it because kindness is not an insult. One afternoon, a package arrived with no return address. Inside, a printed photo of me laughing with both of them, probably snatched from my own feed, a Sharpie arrow pointing at my face and below it in Lucas's handwriting, the one who taught us. My first impulse was to set the photo on fire and then consider therapy about what that metaphor says. Instead, I put it in a drawer with old chargers and 4 paper clips that hook nothing, and I said out loud, "No more altars built from things I didn't offer." If you need a satisfying turn, here's a small one. 2 months after all of this, a girl I mentor posted a zine about digital consent, and in it she wrote, "No one gets to log into your life and press publish for you." She didn't tag me. She didn't need to. I printed it and taped it to my fridge next to a magnet shaped like a lemon that says, "Squeeze me later." I read it every morning before my coffee works. I wrote my own sentence under it, "I won't be your PR." I underlined it once. I haven't had to underline it again. A year from the day the post went up, I got married. Not because the universe needed symmetry, but because I met someone who laughs with his whole body and asks for consent to hold my hand the first time he wanted to, and then never again because yes is not a one-use word but it is one you respect. His name is Ian. He is not a plot twist. He is a man who brings soup and silence in equal measures. We married in a room with bad lighting on purpose. No hashtags. My best friend now, a woman named Shanice who knows how to keep secrets without hoarding them, stood up and told a story about the time she taught me to carry anger like water. You don't pour it on your own head. You sip it to remember you're alive. I did invite Talia. I wrote on the invitation, "If coming hurts you, don't. If staying away hurts you, come." She sent a gift, a lemon tree in a pot the color of fresh ideas. No note. I texted a photo of it on my balcony and wrote, "It's pretty," and she sent back a heart. She didn't come. I was relieved. That's growth. Or exhaustion. Either way, it's honest. Lucas still posts about gratitude like it's a sport. I mute him better now. Sometimes a photo of him and Talia appears anyway because algorithms like to test your sobriety. When it does, I breathe. I remind myself that the Venn diagram he loves is real but optional. I count the circles I belong to because I built them. I log out. I make tea. I notate the small borders. I feed the lemon tree. If you're here because your story rhymes with mine, because somebody used your mouth for their announcement, because your history didn't ask your permission to be repurposed for a softer narrative, this is the only practical advice I have that isn't a bumper sticker. Write the sentences beforehand you'll need when the room tilts. Simple ones. I didn't say that. Please stop. That's not my announcement to make. Tape them above your desk. Use them like salt. You'll be tempted to blow up the kitchen with a monologue. You can. You'll feel better for 12 minutes. Or you can be the woman who peels an orange, changes the password, tells the truth in a plain font, and sits outside with a lemon tree while the internet looks for the next fire. That woman will still be there in the morning, and she'll still sound like you when she answers the door. I wish I could tell you I forgave them entirely, the way books like to end full circle. I forgave what I could without lying. The rest I planted. It's growing into something with shade. Sometimes I sit under it and read zines made by teenagers who know more about logarithms and boundaries than I did at 30. Sometimes I write new passwords in my lemon notebook and laugh at the person I used to be. Sometimes I look at the photo in the drawer and feel tempted to draw horns on it with a Sharpie, and then I close the drawer and go make dinner because petty is a season and mine likes to think it's permanent. It isn't. Here's the last thing, the small hook I want to leave on your tongue. He used my voice to make his announcement because he believed the world is kinder to a story when the person most injured endorses it. He was right for an hour. Then I deleted it. The world kept spinning. The bakery kept making the one muffin that forgives everybody. The lemon tree sprouted a leaf that looked like a hand learning hello. Somewhere a kid learned to modulate a radio signal so her grandmother could listen from 2 neighborhoods away. And my phone, my ridiculous, needy electric rectangle, buzzed with a message from Shanice that said, "You home? I'm bringing soup." I wrote back, "Doors unlocked." which is a sentence that used to terrify me and now is just how you write "I trust you" without performance. It buzzed once more, a calm little hum like a cat. "On my way," she wrote. My thumb hovered over the keyboard and then I don't know, I typed "bring lemons" and laughed because apparently this is who I am now, the woman with a lemon tree, a password she won't share and a laugh she didn't delete.